He wasn't just a fighter, he was theater. Draped in glittering robes, dancing his way into arenas, vaulting over the ropes, and flattening opponents with a single shot. Prince Naseem Hamed didn't box like anyone else, and he certainly didn't act like anyone else. By 26, he wasn't just a champion. He was a global superstar, arrogance and brilliance fused into one unforgettable spectacle. But as quickly as he conquered the sport, he vanished. A single night in Las Vegas against Marco Antonio Barrera stripped away his aura of invincibility. No farewell, no comeback tour, just silence. This is the story of how greatness slipped through the hands of a man who forgot the discipline that built him. From Sheffield to stardom. Long before the gold chains and flashing cameras, Naseem was a wiry kid in Wincobank, Sheffield. Born February 12, 1974, to Yemeni immigrants, he grew up with little money but oversized ambition. Even as a boy, he told people he'd be world champion. And he'd do it on his terms. At Brendan Ingles' legendary Wincobank gym, his unorthodox gifts found a stage. Naseem wasn't a straight-line fighter. He dipped, switched stances mid-combination, and fired punches from angles no one expected. He was unpredictable chaos, but with reflexes so sharp, he made it work. Opponents could barely touch him. The prince takes his throne. Turning pro at 18, Naseem tore through opponents, stacking up British, European, and WBC international belts. His knockouts were violent punctuation marks, and fans couldn't get enough. In 1995, he flattened Steve Robinson in Cardiff to seize the WBO featherweight crown. At 21, the belt was his, and he wore it with unmatched swagger. But the victories were only half the show. Entrances became spectacles. Arabian drums, Michael Jackson music, even a flying carpet. Commentators scoffed, purists fumed, but crowds adored him. Naseem wasn't just winning fights. He was rewriting boxing's script, crashing America. By the late 90s, the prince was bigger than boxing in Britain. He was pop culture. But the real test awaited across the Atlantic. In December 1997, under the lights of Madison Square Garden, he faced Kevin Kelly in his U.S. debut. The build-up was immense. Could this flashy Brit deliver under America's brightest spotlight? The fight was chaos. Naseem was dropped 3 times but kept coming, finishing Kelly with a savage 4th-round knockout. The Garden exploded. HBO signed him. Adidas put him in commercials. He appeared in video games and even The Simpsons. The prince wasn't just a champion anymore. He was a global icon. The cracks appear. But fame has a way of dulling the edge. Behind closed doors, Naseem's discipline slipped. He skipped sparring, ballooned in weight between fights, and began believing his own hype. Tensions with Brendan Ingle escalated until the mentor who built him was pushed aside. Naseem claimed he had outgrown him, but in truth, he was drifting further from the structure that made him great. Though he kept winning, fans noticed changes. His footwork slowed. He leaned more on raw power and less on the dazzling reflexes that once made him untouchable. He called out legends Eric Morales, Juan Manuel Marquez, even Floyd Mayweather, but those fights never happened. The showmanship was still loud. The results, less convincing. Whispers began. What would happen when the prince finally faced a man he couldn't intimidate? Love him or hate him? Even at his peak, Naseem split opinion. To his fans, he was electric. A fearless entertainer who brought eyes to divisions usually ignored. To critics, he was a sideshow act, untested against the truly elite. Emmanuel Stewart, who briefly worked his corner, praised his punch but warned of disaster. He thinks he can't be touched, Stewart said. But nobody in boxing is untouchable. Arrogance was becoming his greatest opponent. The night the magic died. April 7, 2001. MGM Grand, Las Vegas. Naseem Hamed entered the ring 35-0 with 31 knockouts to face Marco Antonio Barrera. But Barrera wasn't dazzled. He wasn't rattled by the theatrics. He came armed with patience, precision, and discipline. From the opening bell, Barrera dismantled the prince's game. He countered every wild leap, punished every mistake, and controlled the rhythm completely. By the championship rounds, Naseem's grin was gone, replaced by frustration. Barrera even shoved him into the turnbuckle, a humiliation broadcast worldwide. The scorecards were unanimous. Barrera hadn't just beaten Naseem, he had exposed him. For the first time the world saw, the prince had no backup plan. Collapse after the crown. Most fighters rebound from a loss. They rebuild, evolve, and chase redemption. But for Naseem, that night in Las Vegas marked the beginning of the end. He promised a rematch. He swore he'd come back stronger, but the fire was gone. A year later, he returned against Manuel Calvo in London. No flying carpet, no spectacle, just a flat, uninspired performance. He won, but the magic had evaporated. At only 28 years old, Prince Naseem Hamed walked away from boxing. Life beyond the ring. Without the discipline of training camps, Naseem's lifestyle changed dramatically. He gained weight, often appearing unrecognizable compared to his fighting prime. He invested in property and businesses, remaining financially secure. But to the public, he was no longer the dazzling showman. He was a cautionary tale. In 2006, his name returned to headlines after a reckless car crash left another man seriously injured. He served time in prison, his reputation further stained. The prince had gone from world champion to tabloid figure. A legacy of what-ifs. And yet, Prince Naseem's legacy is complicated. On paper, his record sparkles. WBO featherweight champion, 36 wins, 31 knockouts. His unique style influenced a generation of fighters, from Tyson Fury to Amir Khan. He proved that the lighter divisions could command superstar attention. But questions will always linger. He never fought Morales, Marquez, or Mayweather. He left the sport in his prime, when fans believed his story was only half-written. He will always be remembered as the man who flipped over the ropes and demolished opponents with a single shot. But equally, he is remembered as a fighter who left too much potential on the table. Closing thoughts. The rise and fall of Prince Naseem Hamed is more than boxing. It's a lesson in how quickly greatness can slip away. He didn't fade because his skills deserted him, but because his hunger did. Even so, his highlight reels still rack up millions of views. His swagger, his audacity, his showmanship, fighters still try to imitate it. Was he a genius ahead of his time, or just a brilliant showman who ran too soon? Maybe both. What's certain is this: there will never be another Prince Naseem Hamed. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the legends of sport.